There's a skit by the sketch comedy group Studio C called Monologue. The sketch launched on their YouTube channel 9 years ago and has since received 2.2 million views. It's nowhere close to being one of their most popular videos and would be considered obscure even to those familiar with their channel. So why am I talking about it? Because believe it or not, this little known sketch contains the secret to writing excellent dialogue. The premise of the sketch is simple. A group of acting students have been tasked with preparing monologues by their wildly over-the-top director. In a farcical twist of miscommunication, every one of the students has misunderstood the assignment and prepared spoken pieces on the disease mononucleosis. Their teacher informs them that under the circumstances the class is cancelled, but one student, desperate to not see his hard work go to waste, insists he can show his acting range with the material he's memorized. He begins reciting the Wikipedia entry for mononucleosis.
A major symptom is exhaustion. Headaches are common, along with abdominal pain.
And is soon joined by 2 other students. The 3 improvise a scene of a love triangle gone tragically wrong, all while continuing to recite their memorized medical jargon. The comedy of the sketch derives from the juxtaposition between what's being said and what's being acted out, like the moment when the 2 lovers get engaged while talking about pus. All in all, it's a clever sketch and worth the watch, so I've included a link below. But what does all of this have to do with writing great dialogue? Simply this. At no point during the students' improvised scene is there any confusion about what's taking place, even though what they're saying has nothing to do with what's happening. This is the secret to memorable, effective dialogue. It's not about what's said, it's about what's communicated. The words characters speak comprise only a wedge of the communication pie. There's also tone, context, facial expression, body language, and a dozen other variables that contribute to communication. Skilled writers employ all of these variables to convey what's going on to the audience in a creative and powerful way. They become masters of subtext. So today we'll be breaking down the fundamentals of subtext as we look at characters and circumstance, cracking the code, the verbal versus the nonverbal, and the power of 2 plus 2. Subtext is defined as an underlying and often distinct theme in a piece of writing or conversation. In other words, subtext is the difference between what a character says and what they mean. So why use subtext at all? Why not have characters just say exactly what they mean? For starters, it's unrealistic. In real life, people rarely say exactly what they mean. Instead, we infer, hint at, allude to, and suggest, all for a variety of internal reasons and motivations. Secondly, dialogue in which characters spell out exactly what they mean is boring. There's a level of engagement that happens with subtext that's impossible to reach otherwise. So how does a writer decide when and how to use subtext? The answer is character and circumstance. Dialogue is driven by character. What a person says and how they say it is directly tied to their unique motivations, personality, flaws, strengths, and goals. When writing dialogue, a writer should be asking themselves, what does my character want in this scene? How, given their personality, would they go about getting it? What circumstances are at play that might affect how they communicate? All of these factors affect the level of subtext that a character will employ. Let's consider the 2 characters in this scene from the movie Steve Jobs, the titular Jobs and software engineer Andy Hertzfeld. In this scene, the demo Apple is about to launch live to a crowd of people is malfunctioning. Jobs demands that Andy fix the demo, which Andy says can't be done. Let's see how Andy, a soft-spoken, mild-mannered character, communicates to Jobs that he thinks his demands are unrealistic.
You had 3 weeks. The universe was created in a third of that time.
Well, someday you'll have to tell us how you did it.
What is the subtext here? Andy is insinuating, through a clever twist on Steve's words, that his employer has a God complex. This is a perfect use of subtext because it aligns with character and circumstance. Andy is mild-mannered and he's speaking to his employer. The combination of these factors make it much more likely that he would infer an accusation like this rather than come right out and say it. Now let's look at Steve's response.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to announce the names of everyone who designed the launch demo. The Macintosh font that's scrolling across the screen was designed by Steve Capps. Mac Paint, Mac Wright, Alice, And then I'm gonna say the voice demo that didn't work was designed by Andy Hertzfeld. So unless you want to be disgraced in front of your friends, family, colleagues, I wouldn't stand here arguing.
What is the subtext in Steve's dialogue? There is none. Jobs, a dominant and aggressive character, is openly threatening Andy with public humiliation. This again is an excellent use of character and circumstance. The same power dynamic that makes Andy more likely to use subtext makes Steve more likely to speak bluntly. If you've been enjoying these videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss the latest scene breakdowns and writing tips. The power of subtext lies in its sense of realism. In real life, people rarely come right out and say exactly what they mean, and instead infer, talk around, or allude to what they truly think and feel. When fictional characters do this then, there is not only a deep and relatable humanness, but audiences grow more engaged as they try to crack the code and decipher what the characters are really communicating. In the Office episode Goodbye, Michael, we learn that Michael has misled everyone about when he's leaving to avoid the pain of saying goodbye. Jim invites Michael to lunch for the following day, and in so doing learns that Michael is in fact leaving today. Rather than force Michael into the painful goodbye he's been avoiding, Jim acts as if their plans for lunch are still on, and we get this exchange.
And then tomorrow, I can tell you what a great boss you turned out to be. Best boss I ever had.
The power of this moment lies in Jim's easily crackable coded subtext. He is sharing with Michael what he will tell him at lunch tomorrow, even though they both know this meeting will never happen. It's a poignant moment of Jim graciously honoring Michael's wishes while still conveying what Michael means to him. As an audience, we're deeply engaged because we've cracked the code. We have the subconscious satisfaction of being in the know, discerning what the characters are truly communicating, not just saying. There are times when subtext becomes apparent not through anything that is said, but rather through that which is seen. This happens through a clash between the verbal and the nonverbal. This is similar to cracking the code, but rather than picking up clues in dialogue, audiences decipher what a character is truly communicating through visual clues. Take a look at this example from La La Land. In this scene, Mia is at an audition acting out a phone call. Listen to what her character says versus what we're shown.
No, I'm happy for you.
Even with little context, what Mia is communicating through this character is clear. The woman on the phone is heartbroken. Nothing she is saying supports this, but her face doesn't lie. The subtext comes solely through nonverbal communication. There's an expression in writing coined by the creative team at Pixar. Don't give the audience 4, give them 2 plus 2. When you allow an audience to put together the pieces in their mind, they become infinitely more engaged. You are trusting them to pay attention, then rewarding them for doing so with the joy of realization. In the mono sketch, the entirety of the students' improv relies on this 2 plus 2 storytelling and our recognition of story structure. We see 2 characters in love, then when a third character appears menacingly above them, we know our lovebirds are in danger, regardless of the villain's medically muddled dialogue.
Infection is spread via saliva.
When elements of subtext have been heavily reinforced throughout the runtime of a story, there can be a great distance of time between the elements of the equation, between the 2 plus 2, and the audience will still connect the dots. In the film The Princess Bride, it's established at the very beginning of the story that whenever Wesley says the phrase, "as you wish," he really means, "I love you." We're given a montage of him repeating this phrase, burying the meaning of the subtext deep in our minds. We get a callback to this later when the Dread Pirate Roberts reveals his true identity to Buttercup, reminding us of the true meaning of this phrase.
As you wish.
This all leads to the final line of the film, when the grandfather is leaving and his grandson asks him to return the next day to read the book again.
As you wish.
What is the closing sentiment of the film? A grandfather's love for his grandson, expressed not through direct language, but rather through subtext. A powerful 2 plus 2 conversion that happens in our minds. As you wish equals I love you. The power of subtext lies in its ability to draw in the audience. It is a measure of trust placed on the audience by the author, a sign of respect that says, I trust you to discern what's truly being communicated. Subtext invites the audience to dig deeper, to watch closer, to listen more attentively. It adds depth to dialogue, character, and story in a way that is unmistakably and irreplaceably human. So I hope this helps. Comment below with what writing topics you'd like to see covered in videos, and subscribe for more writing tips.